Christina from Landscape Management Magazine, and I'm here today with Josh Flynn, the CEO of Seabreeze Property Services in Portland, Maine. Hi, Josh.
Hey, Christina.
So, Josh, why don't you tell me a little bit about your business?
Sure. So we're Seabreeze Property Services. We're based in Portland, Maine. We operate between Bangor and Wells, but focus mostly on the greater Portland area. We're for full service, grounds maintenance and snow removal company. So, operate 12 months out of the year, about a 50-50 split in terms of our revenue for, grounds maintenance, light construction, paving, and then obviously pushing a lot of snow up in the Northeast. We've been around for 27 years. I personally have been with the company for 5. I've been serving as their CEO for a little over a year and a half, but kind of started as a supervisor and have been able to learn the business as I go along. But yeah, we pretty much do everything, but right now, obviously, we're gearing up to push a lot of snow here in a couple of months.
Do you want to give us a little bit of a snapshot of what labor's like now for you? What are you doing? And what's new and different about what you did last year to previous years?
Yep. So, particularly for the wintertime, to start off, like we're looking for like 12-month full-time employees. We don't utilize like unemployment or anything like that. Like we're looking to work with folks and develop them over time. Through both seasons. So, that can be difficult in the winter with, varying amounts of snowfall and different contract types and, paying folks and what are they going to do up in the Northeast. It's really hard to do anything outside of pushing snow in the middle of the winter because the ground is, super frozen. So what we've been doing the past few years is offering what we call the winter loan program. So we've been guaranteeing a certain amount of hours. It had been 25 and then loaning the other 15 over the course of the winter. So if folks, only worked 23 hours, they'd get paid for 40, but they'd owe us 15, pay it back with overtime during the winter. If they carried a balance, they'd pay it back in small installments over the first 10 weeks of the grounds maintenance year. That's worked fairly well for retaining our employees. We're taking it another step further this winter with guaranteeing the full 40 hours plus overtime and differential. So, the financial security of our employees is incredibly important. I find that it's our responsibility on the sales team and the company to make sure that our contracts and our budgets align so that, the folks who have to show up at 1:00 in the morning aren't put out or worried about where their paycheck's going to come from. We find this differs from our competitors who often offer a salary but don't pay overtime or any other type of pay, or they bank hours or something else. And we're just, it was a light winter last year, sort of an average winter the year before, and then 2 heavy winters before that. So, if it snows a ton, then obviously we'll have a lot of work to do and, there'll be overtime opportunities and I'm sure everybody will do okay. If it doesn't snow a ton, like our efforts are geared towards a really, really like renewed look at our training schedule and actually, frankly, like actually doing it. I think a lot of people say like, oh, we train and, there's not really much structure to it. So we're working really hard on that. We're doing some volunteering. We started a little bit of a pilot program last year. And I'm looking to vamp that up. And then obviously some yard shop, hours, that sort of thing, but trying to utilize the hours and make it as productive for the employees and the company and really not waste anybody's time when it's not snowing, and when it is, just making sure everything's ready to go.
Yeah. Well, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the volunteering part of it?
Yeah. So, last year was a little bit weird. We reached out to a handful of different companies that or organizations that might be interested in, some labor and some help. Last year was interesting because of, the vamp up in COVID and a lot of restrictions went back into place and people, outsiders coming in, they weren't really interested in working. The Good Shepherd Food Bank was an organization that decided to kind of give us a shot on a trial basis for the winter. They're the largest food bank in the state. They really are the distribution hub for all of the other food banks that operate, in the state of Maine. And I know that food insecurity has been something that's come up during the pandemic in particular, but has always kind of persisted, no matter where you go. So it seemed like a good fit. They allowed us to send 5 to 6 on our team up to their production facility once a week, and they were flexible with whether it snowed or it didn't snow. Um, and I think we made it just about every week throughout the winter. And we handpicked the folks that were going to represent us for this first round. And it was more of a privilege than kind of certainly wasn't a forceful thing. It was like, is anybody interested in doing this, as opposed to coming and washing trucks or doing something else. And I think the reception was great. The guys liked going up there and helping out. I know that they really appreciated the consistent help on a week-to-week basis. I think at the end of the year, the stat that everybody liked to look at was, our team helped prep, 37,000 meals, for folks around the state throughout the winter. My hope is to continue to find like other partners who are interested in, frankly, utilizing some of our downtime that we're paying our employees for, and we just want to utilize those hours in the most productive way. And if that's helping the community and creating an impact, it's a good change of pace for our employees too, rather than just coming to the shop and doing the same thing or pushing snow or training. They get to work with different people in different divisions. We have 3 branches, so they might get to work with folks from different branches they don't see all the time. And it's just, for me personally, like volunteering, like makes you feel pretty good and is a good use of your time. So, encouraging our folks to help out in that respect. I'm hoping just to, continue to take baby steps, like at maybe double and go 2 days this winter as opposed to 1 last year. And they have another facility at our new branch, right near our new branch up in Bangor. So those guys who are 2 hours away are going to have a really easy opportunity about 10 minutes down the road. So yeah, interested in continuing to work with them going forward, and hopefully we find some other opportunities to kind of spread the wealth a little bit and just, continue to utilize those hours as best we can.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So thank you for sharing. So kind of pivoting,
Sure.
you know, looking at the labor situation now, where do you think the labor situation is going to be 5 years, 10 years down the road? Do you think companies are still going to be having that strong demand for labor?
Yeah, I mean, I think if everything just, kind of stays the same in the economy, or relatively the same, or even returns to pre-pandemic levels and, exceeds that, like the demand is going to continue to be there. I don't think it's a secret that, the pandemic, with a lot of people working from home and that sort of thing, it's definitely kind of changed people's mindset. And we've seen, regardless of whether we had enough labor, we would have seen a huge demand and increase for services regardless. So I don't frankly think that that's going to change that much. Pricing is going to change a ton, just because of inflation and how costs are fluctuating. But in terms of labor, I'm fairly pessimistic that, if you aren't taking creative steps or thinking about how you need to change what you're currently doing, you're probably going to fall behind. It's something that recruiting and retention is something we focus on every day. And that's only going to become more and more pertinent as time goes on. We've almost always sourced our workforce locally, but we're applying for the H-2B program to kind of help supplement and take some of the pressure off of our current workforce and still allow us to reach our goals and continue to grow our company. We're considering different types of automation. All of those, every company that we've talked to is fairly early in the development, but I think that that's probably the next wave. And I think at times there can be like a negative connotation behind automation, like, well, we just want robots to replace people. And it's like, no, like, we'd prefer if the robots could do like the continuous tasks that have to be done every week, so that our folks can gain new skills and start to, branch out into other, parts of the company. Obviously this is probably going to happen on the mowing side, which I think is great. And when we talk to our employees, they're just like, hey, anything that can help us out and take some of the pressure off and make things a bit easier. So yeah, I just the country's getting older. Like that definitely doesn't help us. We have a very physical intensive, industry, and there's not a tremendous focus on the industry as like a skilled trade. There are 4-year degrees that you can get to come into our industry, but there's not a lot of associate programs or even certificates and things like that. So, maybe as the demand goes up, people will start paying attention more and be like, hey, we got to figure something out and start trying to filter folks into this field a little bit more, because you can make a decent living and progress pretty quickly and not load yourself up with a ton of debt. Like it seems like a pretty good option if you're with the right company. So yeah, hopefully it isn't as bad as it is now, but I'd rather plan for the worst, and that's kind of how we're going to approach it.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Josh, for talking to us today.
No, absolutely. I certainly appreciate the time, Christina.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. This is Christina Herrick with Landscape Management, and thanks for watching. Bye.